Welcome to Christ Notes, and thanks for logging on. I'm going to continue talking today about the marriage supper of the Lamb. And today we're going to be kind of showing Jesus tells us, remember he said this is how the kingdom of heaven is. It's like a big wedding feast. And today we're going to talk about persecution. And so in Matthew 22, verse 3, Jesus says, "And he sent his servants to summon those who had been invited to the wedding banquet, but they refused to come." So Jesus, this is our Father sending people out to Israel. He's sending people out to tell them, come on, you want to come. You want to be part of this. Again, he sent other servants. So after they refused, our Father sent servants. Notice how our Father's continually, year after year, hundreds of years, he keeps sending servants, he keeps sending prophets, he keeps sending people to try to summon people. Come on, you want what we have here. You want the victory of Christ. Our Father's very patient with us. A lot of people think he's not very patient. But just look at Israel and you can see extreme patience. And they were constantly challenging him. They were constantly doing things that they shouldn't do. They were constantly not loving each other. And our Father still sends prophets, sends prophets, sends prophets. So it says, "Tell those who are invited, behold, I have prepared my banquet. My bullocks, my fat calves, they're killed. And everything is prepared. Come to the wedding feast." What Jesus said one time, he says, "Oh, Jerusalem, how I've longed to come for you to come in, but you keep rejecting, you keep saying no." It says, "But they were not concerned and they paid no attention. They ignored and made light of the summons, treating it with contempt, and they went away, one to his farm, another to his business." So look what it is. I think it's great symbolism here when we're talking about the children of Israel. They were all about laws. They were about the rules, the 10 Commandments. They were about rituals and trying to serve God through rituals, and keeping these rules. And it says very plainly, Paul writes to us in Galatians, that if we think that we are justified with our Father by keeping a set of rules, we are doomed to destruction. So the Israelites, they wanted laws. They didn't want grace. They wanted works. They wanted to stand on the street corners and tell everybody just how great they were. They wanted to go and pray long prayers so everybody would notice it. They wanted to give their alms so everybody could see them giving it, and then they could get the reward. But remember what Jesus tells us in the Sermon on the Mount. If you do those things and you to be seen, that's all the reward you're ever going to get. So that's what the Israelites were doing. They all wanted this to be known by their works. They wanted to do it on their own. And when grace came, when mercy came, when the new covenant came, they wanted any part of it because it didn't make sense to them. They had not been empowered with the Holy Spirit. They were seeing, but they weren't seeing. They were hearing, but they weren't hearing because they weren't empowered with the Holy Spirit to see and understand. So what they do? While others seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and putting them to death. Hearing this, the king was infuriated, and he sent his soldiers and put those murderers to death, and he burned their city. Look what happened to Israel. It ceased to be. Very shortly after Jesus was crucified and raised up, it ceased to be because they just wouldn't listen to the truth. So our Father sent the truth out to the Gentiles. He sent it out to us. But you got to remember, we're still hearing that the servants, who are the bride of Christ, because remember the bride of Christ, we are the servants, were shamefully mistreated. Don't ever be surprised that you are going to get mistreated, because you will. People will, people will persecute you for the word's sake. And Jesus tells us, you're blessed when that happens. Consider yourself all fortunate and happy with joyful bliss because you're being persecuted. Paul wrote that, he had a thorn in the flesh. He asked our Father to remove it 3 times. Our Father said no, because in your weakness, my strength, it's perfected. So Paul actually wrote it, and he went on to write, he says, "Now I rejoice in hardships and trials and persecutions and troubles because they make our Father stronger in me. They make our Father better in me. He uses me more and more." So never be surprised if you're going to be persecuted. And you got to remember too, Paul was a sickly guy. The only reason he ever went to Galatia was because he stopped there because he was sick. And yet, our Father still had him shamefully mistreated because he had the truth. So it doesn't matter whether you're well, you're strong, you're powerful, you're free, or you're in jail. Our Father, persecution will arise for the word's sake wherever our Father has us. And we get stronger in that. We get stronger and more powerful. So never be shocked about persecution. So we're kind of reading here where the Israelites rejected it. The kingdom of heaven, the Israelites had to first reject it. Remember, Jesus said to the Greek woman when she came up for her child, he said, "I have not yet come for the Gentiles. But yet that woman, even though she persisted, and he healed her child. But at that time, he says, it's not yet time. There will be a time after he was raised up. Our Father knew he was going to raise Jesus up from the dead, send it out to the Gentiles, and that we would have life and have it abundantly because we would accept Jesus. We would welcome him. And that's the peace that we have, is that even in trial, because we are part of the kingdom of heaven, we are protected. Our Father will always make sure that we are protected and we're victorious. We're always more than conquerors through Christ that loves us. We will never, ever be put to shame. So I hope that helps. We'll stop there today. I hope that helps. Thanks for logging on. And we are always blessed in the power of our Father's might, whether we're abounding or we're abasing.